I don't really want to be in the spotlight. So I started a YouTube channel, so that I could do the thing that I hate the most. By the way, also, YouTube is really good for your humility, though. Because now I get to sit and look at myself on camera all the time while I'm editing the videos. And you guys let me run around looking like that all day long, every day? Really? Well, here I am. I am about to turn 43 years old. And when I look back on my, I don't know, the big landmarks in my life, like, I don't know, I was a long distance runner and a marathoner, and then I got my master's degree in rhetoric. It's a degree in arguing. And let's see, I moved across the country to Wisconsin. It's kind of a tough place to live compared to the temperate rainforest of the Willamette Valley in Oregon where I grew up. It gets really cold here. Really cold. Like, we had a wind chill of minus 53 the year that my fourth child was born, which is kind of nuts. Anyway, and we're homesteaders, and we are Orthodox Christians, and I feel like there's just one conclusion to draw from all of that, and it's that I'm a bit of a masochist. Wait, what? No. It's actually, I think it's that I am super drawn to doing things that are uncomfortable to me. Oh yeah, now I have a YouTube channel, which, by the way, I'm a super private person. Any kind of public speaking makes me feel like I have massively overshared. Like, I feel like crap the day after I give any kind of a public speaking, like any kind of a speech or anything like that. And it's because it feels like massive oversharing, even when it's not. It's like any kind of speaking in public to me feels like oversharing. So, needless to say, every time I release a video on YouTube, and we've released 5 now, this is number 6, I spend the next day feeling completely mortified, which I was gratified to read. I looked up this issue because that's what I do. I research things. And I found a thread on Reddit that was all about YouTube channel people who, the day after they post their videos, feel completely mortified. And it's probably related to anxiety, is what they all agreed. And, putting yourself out there really, really publicly. And, at this point, this is only my 6th YouTube video. And so I'm also learning super publicly. It's like taking your first piano lesson in front of a packed audience at Carnegie Hall. Like, look, everybody, here I am, and I know nothing. I have no idea what I'm doing. Everybody, look, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I am learning really, really publicly right now. By the way, I also used to teach a little bit. I taught public school fairly briefly when I was fresh out of graduate school. And I taught a little bit while I was in graduate school, too. So yeah, I hate myself, apparently. I would so much rather be just, well, as Father Thomas Hopko says, quiet, hidden, and small? That's my preference. Like, I don't really want to be in the spotlight. So I started a YouTube channel, so that I could do the thing that I hate the most. By the way, also, YouTube is really good for your humility, though. Because now I get to sit and look at myself on camera all the time while I'm editing the videos. And you guys let me run around looking like that all day long, every day? Really? I do. I almost compulsively need to do things that are uncomfortable for me. I always was afraid to start a business too, and now I just started a business. We have our own LLC as of like 3 weeks ago, and that's alarming. I find that alarming. It's way too grown up to have to deal with taxes on that kind of level. And now I'm a mom and a business owner and a homesteader and a YouTube channel person. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. It must be a midlife crisis. Like I said, I'm about to turn 43. On June 4th, I will be 43 years old, which is just nuts. And fantastic, too. Like, I don't know if you guys are Fleet Foxes fans, but they have a song. I think I'm probably not even supposed to quote their song on YouTube. The YouTube's people tell me that you can't really, copyright infringement. Anyway, they have a song that goes, "Now I am older than my mother and father when they had their daughter. Now what does that say about me?" And that was super off key. I'm sorry. And anyway, apologies. But I keep thinking of that song because my dad was 42 when I was born and my mom was 38. And here I am, 43, about to be 43. Wild. I think about my dad a lot these days. And one of the things that I remember the best is how much he loved to listen to music. And now, in retrospect, I realize that the music that he loved best to listen to was what was popular when he was in his 20s. Now, what was popular when he was in his 20s was what was popular in the 1950s. So he loved to listen to Ray Conniff and the Kingston Trio, and I don't know who else. I realize now that I am about to be 43 that also who I love best to listen to is the people I enjoyed listening to when I was in my 20s. But for me, I'm going to date myself here. That's Radiohead and Fatboy Slim and Morrissey and the Smiths. That might have been when I was a little bit younger than that, but yeah. And now at 43, listening to that kind of music is like automatically deeply comforting to me. Like if I want to relax, I turn on a little bit of Fatboy Slim or REM. Yeah. Anyway, I say all this because I would never have believed that 43 was old enough to live in deep nostalgia, but I really do. And maybe that's just a function of being sort of a sentimental person. My dad was like that too. My dad liked to go back and visit places where he had lived, or he had traveled around a lot because he was in the Air Force. But even just like places where he had lived almost within my lifetime. Like, I remember when I was in my 20s, he wanted to go back and drive by his house in Oregon City because memories, right? He'd just like to take trips down memory lane. And now that I'm in my 40s, I recognize just how comforting that actually is. The other day, I had to go pick up groceries. I had to go pick up groceries in town. And town is kind of a decent drive for us now. It's about 25 minutes to the nearest really good-sized town, like where there's an Aldi and things like that, and kind of a big grocery store. So I have to drive a little bit, and I turn on some music, and I gotta say, I turned on the Fatboy Slim, and I drank a bunch of Diet Coke, and it was very healing. And I probably now offended both of my target audiences, right? Like I have offended the homesteaders because a lot of us are homesteaders because we're seeking out a more healthy lifestyle, right? One that's probably free of NutraSweet, which Diet Coke is chock full of, and Fatboy Slim, which, I mean, I don't know how many Orthodox people listen to Fatboy Slim or to Radiohead, but for some reason in my mind, their listening audience is largely not conservative Christians. But we all have our own relationship with Christ. Am I right? And some of us, part of that relationship involves listening to Tom York. So usually the milking is me because it was my crisis of judgment that caused us to get goats in the first place.
And the second time too.
And the second time also. But also in the last year, I have been having a bit of a repetitive use injury, which is either an entrapped nerve or compartment syndrome. They haven't really figured it out yet, but it was excruciating and I don't ever want it to happen again. So I'm going to let him do the milking today. My doctor said that it's probably the milking that caused it. We actually had to dry our goats off early back in December this year because I had to be off milking for an entire month. So we're going to try to prevent that happening again.
My wife, she milks like a machine. She does everything super fast and doesn't know how to slow down at all. So that could be part of the issue.
My husband is a really good counterbalance to me because he does everything really slow. So, between the two of us, we do things at sort of a normal pace.
Yes. My wife illumined me to the benefits of goat's milk, and I was actually totally against it. I'd only ever had milk from the store. I didn't even want to think about that being from a cow, honestly. It was just milk. But that my milk came from an animal, I didn't really think about that part. Nor did I really think about the part about me milking to get my milk. Because, who thinks about that?
I think one of the great things about being in your 40s is just scope. You have this view now of life over a longer term, and people who are older than me are probably going to laugh because I know I sort of felt like this when I was in my late 20s, like, oh, I have arrived now. Now I have perspective. But, every decade or so, maybe you feel that way a little bit more. We do so many things that have a super steep learning curve. I didn't expect moving across the country to be one of them, but moving from someplace that's relatively warm, that, is a USDA zone 7, to a place that is USDA zone 3A was a big learning curve. It was a big jump. Learning to live in a super cold climate is really it was challenging. And then we started homesteading. Like, we have really only been seriously homesteading for 5 years now. And we are homeschooling, which, I've been sort of homeschooling my oldest since she was just little, and she's 9 now. So we've got some time under our belt, but not much in the scheme of things. Now we're brand new business people. We've owned a business for exactly 3 weeks now. And we're learning the ins and outs of that. And we're Orthodox Christians. We've only been in the church for 15 years, which, most Orthodox Christians will tell you we're basically preschoolers in the church. We don't have any experience under our belt to speak of. So now we are on YouTube and learning extremely publicly all of these things. And what's great about that for you guys is I'm going to be as honest as I can be here on my channel. And you're going to get to watch us learn, and we're going to share lots of mistakes. And clearly you can see us making them already. I'm not that great at making YouTube videos. This is what you get. In your first 100 YouTube videos, a lot of content creators say, yeah, your first videos are going to suck. And they do. Thanks. I'm normal. But also anything can happen. So stick around and let us share it with you. What it's like for us to learn on the homestead, to learn in the church, to learn in the business field, to learn what it's like to make super large scale soap, which we haven't done before. We've made soap, but to make it on production level, that's a whole other experience. And to raise our kids, my oldest is 9. I'm a newbie when it comes to parenting, really. I'm an amateur. So there's lots of learning, and we're happy to share it with you. On the first day that you milk, is going to taste incredibly mild. It will be as mild as any milk you have ever drunk. Now, as raw goat milk stays in your refrigerator for a day, not the second day, like maybe the fourth or fifth day, it doesn't go bad, but it starts to taste slightly more goaty, like maybe more like what you're used to if you have bought goat milk from the store. And if you pasteurize it, it definitely tastes more goaty, which is probably why that goat milk at the store tastes a little stronger than goat milk that we drink here on the farm that is raw. Now, raw milk, pasteurized milk, obviously there's a great big debate over what is the safest. We're incredibly careful about how we handle our milk. I don't know that I would drink raw milk from somebody else's farm just because I don't know what their practices are. But obviously, I'm giving this to my kids, so I'm being incredibly careful about it. In your soap, it's less of a concern because once it's gone through saponification, once it has experienced the lye, just it's going to be less of an issue. So, but that said, we are still incredibly careful about it. And the milk that we're going to use in your soap, we freeze into cubes almost immediately. And that is what we use. It's the same milk that we drink. If I were to unfreeze those cubes, I would drink it. It would be fine. But this is how we do our milk. This is how we do our milk that goes into your soap.
Hi, we're the Dannies. We have a 3-barred cross on our door and goats on our porch. We are Orthodox Christians and first-generation homesteaders, and we are the owners of Dayspring Farm Soap Company, making quality handmade goat milk soap. Come along with us as we do the homestead life with Jesus, goats, and soap.